All right, let's get started. Welcome everyone to SEO Week 5.0. My name is Heather Doucette, and I am the Marketing and Event Coordinator here at NetElixir. I'll be your host for our series of 3 webinars taking place this week. I would like to start out by giving you a quick shout out to our partners at UPS, LizTrack, BrightEdge, Bing, and Google that are in attendance in addition to our clients and all new SEO Week first-timers. Thank you for your constant support. We'll be covering SEO topics today, tomorrow, and on Wednesday, all at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be sure to join us each day to take a deeper dive into our presentations that can help you with solving your real-world solutions. We'll be starting our sessions now. Please remember to add questions that come to mind in our chat box. Our speakers will answer your questions at the end of our presentation, which will focus on the changing landscape of SEO. This year, we have a lot of new SEO Week first-timers. For those of you new to this knowledge celebration, I would like to share with you the history behind SEO Week. NetElixir started SEO Week 5 years ago. We launched SEO Week to address the challenges online retailers were facing in SEO, and since it is our specialty, we are passionate about sharing our solutions. Part of NetElixir's core value structure is to constantly share knowledge to the online retail community. Our team is constantly monitoring the changing landscape in SEO that you'll hear more about in today's presentation. This year, we have some great topics. Today, we'll be discussing the changing landscape of SEO. Tomorrow, on Wednesday, we'll be discussing how to allow search engines to read JavaScript with better indexing and higher ranking. On Thursday, our topic is how to understand indexing and how to use technical SEO with the Google Web Console. As I mentioned, I'll be here all week, but our speakers will be changing daily. For our day one speakers, I would like to introduce Hala Ali, who is NetElixir's very own SEO director.
Hi, everyone.
Next, I am pleased to welcome Kevin McCormick, who is the Customer Success Manager for our premier partners at BrightEdge.
Hello, everyone.
Thank you guys for joining us today. Before we introduce them fully and jump into their presentations, I did want to take a moment to talk to you about NetElixir. Our team is comprised of 130 fanatically analytic global search marketers dedicated to helping find and acquire new customers online. Since 2004, our data-intensive approach and deep retail expertise have delivered success for hundreds of brands in a highly competitive marketplace. Before we begin, I would like to ask our audience a poll question. Okay, so today's poll question: do you have an organic strategy for the next 3 years? Please take a minute to answer this poll. Okay, it looks like a majority of you don't have a strategy in place, but let's move on. Without further ado, I would like to introduce our first speaker, Hala Ali.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for attending the webinar today. Our topic today is the changing landscape of SEO. This is not only an inference to the digital landscape as a whole, but it also refers to the changes taking place in the search as consumers continue along multiple device journeys. How a search result appears on the mobile device will be very different from how it appears on the desktop. And as the landscape changes, why do so many of us presume that the organic ranking factors will remain stagnant or adhere to the older practices on devices that are literally becoming obsolete? I get asked all the time, what is the value of SEO? So the first thing is the future of search begins with ranking, right? It does begin with ranking, but that is not its foundation. The foundation of SEO right now is the user intent, the context of the search, and the authority of the brand. Also taking into account the location of the user. Organic search today is focused on how retailers can effectively guide consumers across multiple devices. A person can start their journey on a mobile device looking at an organic search result. They move to social media. After social media, they might go back to a paid ad and finally convert back into an organic channel. So search engines are really trying to provide those personalized results. And if retailers can't create that consumer journey that is unique for every audience type across different devices, the competitor will take that traffic. So how is Google interpreting that? How is Google really looking at the various intent of the user? The fact is they're looking at it through the knowledge graph. So the knowledge graph is about understanding what consumers are looking for. They're looking for inspiration. They're looking for information. They're looking for researching stuff, and they're validating. So if Google is trying to provide consumers with a better experience, why is it that retailers are not? All these snippets that you're seeing, the site carousel, the rich snippets, the shopping PLAs, quick answers, these are all a part of the knowledge graph. It's essential to make sure that as Google innovates, so do retailers. User needs are essential as an understanding to become successful in organic search. So how do you determine that context and intent for users? So if you look at search engines, they've identified their biggest issue. Their biggest challenge is helping their bots understand human conversation and cultural nuances. The current algorithms are looking at the context and intent of users. They've put into place the EAT algorithm, which we'll be discussing later, which is expertise, authority, and trustworthiness, which gives the page its value. Now, after that, because they've realized their bots can't accurately identify the context or intent, they have hundreds of editors that go in manually to see whether for every search query, the needs are met. It's called the needs met algorithm. It's very, very interesting that while bots are able to value the page, they are not able to validate the intent. So while search engines are becoming very, very sophisticated, the algorithms are even more sophisticated, the gap between machine learning and human knowledge remains. So the core question becomes, how do you determine context of a search phrase to remove the ambiguity and then determine the intent of the search to get a higher CDR? It is a challenge even Google has a hard time overcoming, which is why the human connection is needed. So to actively take advantage of these sophisticated tools all organic search has, for example, BrightEdge, SEMrush, Ahref, Majestic, there are hundreds of great tools out there, but they are just that. They're sophisticated tools. Without that human interaction, in this case, SEO experts, the interpretation of the results might be lost. So for best implementation, you really need to understand how various search results are coming about. And the best way to do that is by using tools like BrightEdge. And Kevin here will help you understand how they present results. And then I'll leap back into it to make you understand why while the tools can present the keywords, the various ranking factors, it is the experts that will know how to do the implementation. Kevin?
Thanks, Hala. Great. So, and as Heather mentioned, my name is Kevin McCormick. I'm a customer success manager on the agency team here at BrightEdge. And so, yeah, we wanted, what Hala was just talking about, we then want to think about a problem where a site is winning in rank, but losing in traffic. You know, we find rank being stable. However, the visits are decreasing. And we wanted to be able to help gain visibility into why that's happening or why that might be happening. And what we found is that it's due to the change in the SERP. So maybe there's a local 4-pack as opposed to a local 3-pack. Maybe there's a quick answer being served. Maybe there's people also ask results that we're seeing. All of these different elements contribute and impact things like a decrease in visits or click-through rate, like we're seeing here. Whereas originally a number one ranking organically meant a 24 or so % click-through rate. That's not necessarily the case these days, where we see a couple different examples of what is being served in a mobile search for the term Golden State Warriors, and how those results vary from swipe 1 to swipe 2 to swipe 3. We see news stories being served. We see tweets being served. We see their Twitter profile. We see the NBA site. All of these different components are contributing to that lower click-through rate that we see nowadays. So we wanted to be able to help with this problem, and what we came up with is this visual parsing technology. And what it allows for us to help do is really stay ahead of the changing SERP and be able to visually scan each component within the SERP itself. And so we see all of these different elements for the term marathon running shoes that are coming up. We see a carousel, we see a quick answer, we see people also ask, and then much further below the fold line, we see some regular organic listings appear. So the real estate of organic SERPs is decreasing, and it's being cluttered and being introduced with more and more components on pretty much a daily basis. So we want to be able to help stay ahead of these changes with the visual parsing technology. And it's going to allow for us to gain richer insights. It's going to allow for us to stay ahead of these changing SERPs and really just boost overall performance. And so some of the actual components that go into the technology itself, we're taking into account every SERP content element, which includes paid ads and news listings and more. So we see an example here for the term customer success platform, where we're looking at the visual rank of the different components being served here. The first 4 visual ranking components are actually paid ads, and visual rank number 5 is actually the first organic listing. However, these are all things that we, as marketers, as digital marketers, as SEOs, are concerned with and should be thinking about and gaining visibility into, not just the organic listings, but the paid listings as well, because as we can see, those are impacting how we appear in the search itself.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. And taking that understanding and understanding that we really need to take advantage of every sort of device and every sort of knowledge graph value, what we have to really consider is what is the next step? How can we find value, give value from consumers to the retailers? Consumers today want to know what the brand represents. They want to know what the product is about. They want to get quick information to make an informed decision. And if one site is not able to give all that information in different ways within their domain structure, that traffic is now going to get answers somewhere else. Search engines today, if you look at just, what Kevin just showed us, is search engines want to retain the consumers as long as possible within their ecosystem. So it's no surprise that the SERPs are changing. The SERPs are identifying what type of result each search query requires and depicting an absolute necessity where the SERPs change to represent the value of the intent. For example, just the quick answers, right? I mean, if someone asks a question, what is the cheapest flight? Or where can I book the cheapest flight? That's where the quick answers come in.
Yeah. And quick answers is a great way to gain that visibility, especially in this digital age where everyone wants the information right away. Google is serving more and more quick answers. And so it's so important to not only gain visibility into that quick answer footprint and presence, but how can we start to rank for quick answers? How can we create content that's geared and optimized towards quick answers specifically?
And that's universal search, right? I mean, if you identify certain queries that are appearing in the quick answers and you start to utilize your informational pages to answer those queries and you appear in that, your brand authority always goes up. And that again comes into what we really need to do. We really need to ensure that the brand authority comes up. So the Nike logo is an iconic symbol in the world today, but it was not always so memorable. They actually paid only $10 for that logo, so you can understand what value it had at that time. So how did it become that authority that it is today, right? That's one question we have to ask ourselves. Consider Hallmark. They may not have invented Valentine's Day, but they sure do monetize it, right? And how does that happen? They've created days like Tax Day and Clergy Day, and they can sell that. So the reason is that they're not focusing on their products as much as they are on the lifestyle. They're creating a lifestyle for their consumers, becoming a useful entity and consistently giving the quality the consumers need. And that is what SERPs today are appreciating because it's providing the end value to the user. So that is core, consistency, being consistent in marketing. So the poll question we asked you today was, do you have a 3-year search engine strategy? And if you don't, you're losing out on that consistency. The reason certain brands become more successful is because they provide that consistency of marketing across every single channel. So organic is just one channel. You have to be consistent in the verbiage, the brand voice, and paid, social, and that's what's going to boost the numbers and support the organic value overall. So how do you create that authority, right? Where do you come up with it? Big brands like Nike, Converse, Hallmark, they can do that. They have the money. How about mid-sized brands that need to create it? There's some simple ways to create that foundation. The first would be creating a Wikipedia page. If you already have one, great. If you don't have one, I would invest in it. Secondly, utilize Google My Business listings. I know Kevin has some thoughts on that with using the BrightEdge tool as well.
Yeah. I think consistency is such a great term to keep in mind. Thinking and thinking specifically about how businesses are found online and how their listings are uniform, hopefully across all of the different channels. Google My Business plays a large part in that role and how that impacts our organic presence. That way, if you have all of your information listed correctly on your GMB page, people are not only easily able to find you, but then they're also more likely to leave a review and things of that nature to help increase just overall engagement with your business.
Exactly. And then right now, if you look at the GMB presence, you can add products, you can add Google posts. There's so many ways to utilize it, which will really emphasize your brand authority. And then optimizing your brand presence online. If you are doing any paid media, if you're doing any social media, you have to ensure that your organic channel also represents the same terms, the same way your brand is written. Everything has to be consistent. And this is not me just shooting out certain responses to you. It's being validated through the EAT algorithm, where it's called expertise, authoritativeness, and trustworthiness. It's a term taken from Google's quality rater guidelines, and it's what a team of humans uses to assess the quality of web content manually. That gives you the page authority. Then they go deeper and find out the intent of the search query, which comes through the needs met value. It's all very interesting because as we talk about the various devices, once you've created or you start creating your brand value, you now have to start considering the UX. I get pushback all the time from my clients because they say, okay, you're talking about UX, but my digital team will deal with that. What about ranking? The truth is, when search engines are focusing so much on user experience, if as retailers you ignore it, you're really going to get short-ended. The focus should not be on the tactics. It should be on the end goal. That's where you're going to get the best results. There's nothing more important in organic search right now than the user experience. Even if I get you ranked on number 1, if the bounce rate is too high or the intent of the user is not being met, chances are you're going to fall in page value, you're going to fall in domain value, and you're going to lose ranking. It's not the fault of your organic expert. It's actually the fault of the UX, which is not meeting the needs of your consumers. So how do you fix that? First of all, you really have to utilize analytics for optimal CRO. Your consumers are coming through multiple touch points, through multiple devices. How someone searches on the mobile is completely different from how they search on a desktop. On voice, it becomes even more complex. You can't even find out if people are coming through voice search, because so far search engines and data analysts have not been able to accurately track it. So the device touch point becomes different. So the support of each intent becomes different. So the next step would be mapping the customer journey across devices and across the various touch points within that retail journey. For example, someone searches the key term, the cheapest flights. They look at it on Google, let's say from the desktop. They go to social media to see whether there might be any coupons available. They look at the trends somewhere else. They might talk to someone and say, hey, where did you get a cheaper flight? There's so many different touch points that if you lose out in any one, you lose out on several others. And how do you understand that customer journey? How do you know the intent in the SERPs? Again, that comes through using the various tools available to you. Visual parsing, as Kevin will tell you, is one great tool.
Yeah, definitely. Visual parsing, it will allow for us to see the difference, like Hala was just talking about, in the SERPs, just from desktop to mobile. And we looked at it quickly before, but just thinking about the above the fold presence on both of those and how much different that is going from desktop to mobile, seeing just such a decrease in the size of the overall SERP itself. It's just so important to be able to gain visibility into what each of those look like, how much real estate is available, and who else we're competing with, and what other elements are there. And all those things we can gain from something like visual parsing.
Great. And one example I love to give is that once I was doing some research for one of my clients, and they're in the design business, right? So when I looked at, let's say, sports logo, what I saw was the intent of the user was not usually to get a sports logo created. Rather, it was knowing the top 10 sports logos. It was more informational. And when you looked at the SERP results, that's what came about. So at that point, if the design, the company started optimizing sports logo to sell their sports logo, they're not going to really meet the intent of the user. However, by the same term, if they search for graphic logo or restaurant logo, it was people trying to understand how they can get a restaurant logo created. Now, same industry, very, very similar key terms, but completely different intents. So how do you identify that? How do you identify the intent? What I usually do is I just typed in the term in the Google search bar and see what sort of results are coming up. Now imagine how difficult it is now, because each time I have to type that search query in that bar and keep moving from there. The last thing in the current day and age, how to really, really rank better for, create that best user experience, is hands-on mobile speed and performance. Page speed was included as a ranking factor for mobile searches in 2018. And Google's research currently shows that around 55% of teens and 41% of adults use voice search. That means if your mobile speed is not fast, you're definitely not going to be ranked in voice search. So how do you really start ranking in voice search? I mean, you might not have a voice skill. You're struggling to just make a mobile-first, website. Why do you even want to look at voice search? Simply because 2 years from now, you're going to be in the same position where you're struggling to get into voice search. You want to stay ahead of the curve. You might not have a lot of resources. What you want to do is add that structured data there. Content should be focused on local search. It should be focused on FAQs, about us, to create that brand authority, add that structured data for each of those pages, create the mobile-friendly pages, and at least you have the foundation so that when the industry changes again to screenless searches, you have that basis there so you can just tweak, facelift, and be ready to create that voice skill if necessary. The next is context and intent. I know I keep harping on about it, but it is very, very, very important. Google's latest search quality evaluator guidelines identify 4 main types of intent to focus on for ranking. I mean, if Google is saying it in their evaluator guidelines, then you want to start doing it, right? The 4 types is knowing, doing, website, visit in person. So first of all, know your consumer, know what they're looking for. Know when they come to your website, you give them what information they really actively want. Second, what do you want them to do? Right? They're looking for some sort of action. The CTR should be properly placed. Everything should be optimized so that they don't get lost in the intent. Clients love asking about ranking and algorithm updates. A drop in traffic must be something the organic experts miss. It's true that we miss a lot of stuff. However, in the current landscape, if the organic team is focusing on intent and context, they're usually limited by the flexibility of the changes that can be done by the client website. And there are a lot of UX issues we're facing. Landing pages cannot be made, code cannot be updated, speed issues are there. All this is affecting ranking. And if we don't know how to help the consumer, we can't give them the correct CTRs because the UX can't support it, then we're really, really limited in how we can move the client to the next level. Website architecture, how the navigation is taking place. If people are bouncing off and they can't find the search, what they're looking for because the search is not optimized, again, you're going to be losing out. Visit in person. Voice search is really, really moving towards visiting in person the store location. They might look at something online, but then they want to visit the store. Is your contact page updated or your Google Map page properly updated? How can we really, really utilize your pages that you currently have to the best effect? We move into it. How do you do it? First of all, as we said, utilize sophisticated tools. It's very, very, very important. If you don't have the right data, you can't make the right inferences, and then you can't make the right changes. And second, you go into adding schema data. Schema data is the basis of voice search. It's also basically the skeleton of code that allows bots to read what is on your page. So think about it this way. As a human, I can read the text on your page, make certain inferences. I can say, this is, what the content is telling me. Because I have that cultural ability to decipher conversation, I can make any connection I need. Bots can't do that. They look at keywords, they look at subtitles, they look at H1 tags, and they can get lost in that assumption. They can make incorrect assumptions. The ambiguity increases if you don't put in that schema data, because schema data is code for the bots to read. And if that's missing, you're allowing bots to make assumptions you really don't want them to make. So how do we validate this? Google actually began focusing on parsing search intent starting around 2013 with the Hummingbird update. I think with Google report states that people turn to their devices to get immediate answers. And every time they do, they're expressing intent and reshaping the traditional marketing funnel along the way. So basically, when the traditional marketing funnel is being updated and retailers are sticking with the conventional styles of marketing, you really have a dissonance there, which can affect the success of any digital marketing strategy, because so much is changing in 2019 that if you don't start changing now, you're going to get stuck. So the landscape of SEO in 2019. One of the most popular questions I remember in 2017 I heard because of all the mobile changes was, what do we do to improve to SEO? How can we change? And our answer at that time was, forget SEO and focus on the user. The answer to date remains the same, validating that as long as you focus on the user, you will not be penalized by any algorithm change. And that's a concern most of my clients have, that how do we make sure we're not penalized by any algorithm change? Forget SEO. Just focus on your user.
Okay.
And now, sorry.
Okay, so it looks like it's time for another poll question. In order to begin planning your strategy, you should start asking yourselves these questions by outlining your goals. So we want to know, what are your goals for SEO? Okay, perfect. It seems like a lot of you definitely want to increase your website traffic. We're going to move on with the rest of our presentation.
So website traffic, increasing that is a great goal. But to be able to effectively increase website traffic by the time 2020 hits, you have to make sure you're thinking of the future. So what is the future, right? What's changed in 2019? 2019, we're not talking mobile first anymore. That was really, really 2017. What we're really thinking is screenless. We're preparing our clients to have that foundation of going into the screenless world. We're telling our clients, don't use templates, right? You have to have a very, very flexible website design. We should be able to, as marketers, add as many landing pages with different intents, targeting different users in any way possible. So if your developers say we can't actively quickly add landing pages, we really want to start having that conversation right now. And what platform, what structure, what theme will support quick changes? Don't use extensions, right? I mean, so many of my clients will add schema data with extensions. They'll have the same schema on every single page. And we say, we only want product on the product page. We don't want brand over there. And they come back and say, but it's the extension. You have to customize your schema because otherwise schema is considered the metadata of 2015. If you start stuffing schema on each page, it's going to be spam. So you really need to have that ability to customize. Thirdly, utilize tools as tools, not as strategists, right? Tools will give you the data to be able to implement that data in the most effective manner. You need to have the experts. They need to be able to tell you how to implement the various insights that they're providing. I mean, we have BrightEdge, we have SEMrush, we use Screaming Frog. The biggest limitation is at times tools will say, don't add that canonical. That's a 404 page. 404 pages are fine. You need to know why they're there. And if they're okay, they're okay. It's a temporary page that's dysfunctional. That's perfectly fine, but you have to know why it's 404. So moving towards the end of our presentation, if you had 5 takeaways today, what solid factors will prepare you for success in 2020? These are the 5 things. First of all, have a CRO analysis done and do a UX audit. Think about website design and what you're going to do in the next year. Progressive web apps is our suggestion. Really start looking into it. It's really something that will help your mobile speed, performance, and give you that flexibility you need in 2020. Optimize content for various devices, multiple devices and screenless voice search. Customize your schema data and create that brand authority. I can't emphasize enough how important it is to have brand authority. If you have the brand authority, you can make mistakes inorganic, you can spam, you can do different things and not be penalized as hard as you would be if you were not a brand. That's why the Nikes of the world, the Converse of the world, the Hallmarks of the world can make mistakes, identify them 3 months down the line and face no penalty, while smaller brands do get that penalty. Because in the end, those brands are providing quality to the user. And that is, in essence, the basis of it. If you have the budget, the passion, and the need to succeed, these are the 5 things you really need to follow in 2020. And I'm sure Kevin will agree with me.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Brand authority is huge. I like to think of it as the foundation to all that is good when it comes to organic presence, right? Because like Hala just mentioned, if you have a good, solid brand authority, you're less likely to be penalized down the road. So it serves as a strong foundation for the rest of the SEO house that is hopefully being built.
Great, thank you. And here I'll hand it over to Heather to finish off.
All right, great job, Hala and Kevin. Okay, please send any questions you have to our chat box. As you send your questions, I do want to remind everyone that NetElixir not only offers services in SEO, we also offer a variety of solutions such as paid search, organic search, paid social, web analytics, consulting and CRO, Amazon, e-commerce, and tech services. As a reminder, we are going to be doing a giveaway this week. We'll be giving away 1 Google Home to 1 lucky winner. To enter into our contest, all you have to do is invite your friends and colleagues to SEO Week. You can do so by creating a LinkedIn post, sharing the registration link, and tagging NetElixir. Next up, you just have to attend 2 out of the 3 days, so all of you guys are halfway there. You must also comment on one of our LinkedIn SEO Week daily trivia posts. Our first post is actually up right now, so get on your LinkedIn and check it out. All right, next we're going to start with our questions. Our first question comes from Brian. I think this question is going to be good for Kevin. Kevin, so how can you check your brand authority?
Yeah, so using BrightEdge to check brand authority, we have a freeform research section of our platform called the Data Cube, where you're able to put in your domain and you're able to get back several different pieces of information or data. You're able to see your overall organic presence, what terms the domain is ranking for, and then you're also able to gain insight into your universal presence. What universal results is the site visible for today? And I think doing some of those things, being able to use something like that to check how a domain is performing organically overall, gains us and gives us some visibility into our overall brand authority. If we're not ranking for a large amount of keywords, and there's also not a large amount of branded terms in there, we would have a feeling then that the brand authority might be on the lower end, and we might need to improve that a bit. So we can definitely use BrightEdge to help with that type of analysis and the diagnosis of a problem along those lines.
Thanks, Kevin. I think the next question I can take, it's by Michael Carney. What is meant by screenless? Well, when we talk about screenless, we're talking about voice searches. And voice search is really one of the most upcoming, search concepts there is in the market right now. However, even beyond that, as the type of screens change, it won't be very long before even, we are able to see things more in virtual reality. I mean, the tools are all out there. I mean, how many times will we be able to use mobile search and we will have maybe an Apple Watch on our thing that can be streamed onto the wall? So that's what we mean by screenless. I think we have time for one more question. Yep. So I can take Laura's question, and it is there a numerical measurement for brand authority? And she can follow. It follows up with what is the role of link building. So as Kevin just said, right, brand authority is more of a subjective value, and it's gauged by the various rank factors that Google might see. It can integrate all the 200 rank factors, like whether you have the right consistency in marketing, is your mobile speed fast, are you consistently marketing in social media and everywhere else? So there's no objective value given, but there are various subjective factors taken into account when authorizing that. What is the role of link building in 2019? Every SEO expert you ask will give you a different answer. It's definitely important, but from our perspective at NetElixir, we don't do active link building. We believe that if you do marketing in the correct way, do your PR, do your social media, you will get the mentions, you will get the brand backlinks naturally, and that's what we support. So we actively discourage artificial link building, but say do your marketing in different ways to ensure people link back to you. Thank you so much for being with us today, and I hand it back to Heather.
All right. So we hope you all enjoyed today's topic. Please join us tomorrow for our topic on allowing search engines to read JavaScript with better indexing and higher ranking. And we encourage you to download our new voice search ebook, which is our own research on how consumers are integrating voice search into their daily lives. You can easily download our ebook at netelixir.com/voice search. Thank you and have a great Tuesday. We look forward to seeing you back tomorrow. Take care.